It's Monday, April 13th, and welcome to Minutes That Matter. Turn in your Bible with me this morning to Matthew chapter 5, and as you're turning there, allow me to go ahead and kind of set the contextual table for us today. Well, 2 weeks ago on Palm Sunday, our church looked at Christ as our unique King. And then this last Sunday on Easter, we looked at Christ, the risen King. And here's where I want us to go from there in our study. If we have a relationship with that King through salvational faith, how then, as citizens of his kingdom, should we then live? What should that look like in our life? Well, the Gospel of Matthew answers that question. As a matter of fact, Jesus Christ on the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5, 6, and 7 describes what it means and what it looks like to be a citizen of his kingdom. And so in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talks about what it looks like to enter into his kingdom. How does one gain entrance into Jesus Christ's kingdom? The heart's desires of a citizen of his kingdom, but then how our actions and speech flow out of those same heart's desires. What does that look like? What are the things that kind of signify what it means to be a citizen of his kingdom? How should that impact our hearts and our lives? Now, I want us to begin by looking at verses 1 and 2. He says here in verse 1 and 2 of Matthew chapter 5, seeing the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and when he sat down, his disciples came to him, and he opened up his mouth, and he taught them. Today, I want us to see that Christ had compassion for people. It didn't matter who these people were. Christ's heart went out for them. He had a love for them. We see him regularly coming and addressing large groups of people and smaller groups of people, but all of these people had one thing in common, and that was this: they had so much not in common. You see, for Jesus Christ, it didn't matter whether you were intellectually brilliant or intellectually ignorant. It didn't matter whether you were socially and religiously influential or you had very little influence at all. It didn't matter whether you were healthy or ill. It didn't matter whether you were in your right mind or demon-possessed. It didn't matter whether you were politically powerful or politically possessed. As a matter of fact, Christ was often criticized for eating with publicans and sinners. And yet, here's the mindset that Christ is giving us as an example out of the gate at the very beginning of his Sermon on the Mount. And that is this: Christ had love and compassion for people. His heart went out for people. And so I want us to think of this. If we were the preacher for the Sermon on the Mount, would we have that same heart compassion? Would we have that same love for people? If we were to preach this, would we only surround ourselves with people who agreed with us, or would we be seeking out individuals who were not like us, maybe not like us in many ways? Because you see, it's easy to develop relationships and talk with people who are a lot like us, but it's not the Christ-like way. And so as we look into this week to come, and as we look into the weeks to come, as we think of wanting to grow the kingdom of Jesus Christ through the faithful sharing of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and then raising these individuals up into the very image and heart attitudes that we're going to see in Matthew's chapter 5, 6, and 7, we need to begin thinking like Jesus thinks. We need to begin seeing people like Jesus sees people. And so this week, I want to encourage you, look into your life, look into the very edges of your social circle, and maybe on some of those inner social contacts that you have because of work or your neighborhood, and think of those people who are unlike you. Are you willing to reach out to them and develop a relationship with them and seek them out like Christ did in order to share the gospel of Jesus Christ, lead them into the message of how one can enter into the kingdom of Jesus Christ? And then are you willing to grow them up into citizens that reflect the image of their King? Friends, I hope this was a challenge and an encouragement to you today. And as we come this side of the cross, that we would begin to see ourselves in the way that God sees us and the way he desires us to live like and be like his son, Jesus Christ. If this was an encouragement to you today, hit the thumbs up button. If you think somebody else would be encouraged by this, share it on social media. And then if you would like, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell button so you know when we post a new video. And then if you would like more information about the family of Tri-County Baptist Church, if you're new to Minutes That Matter, click on the Show More button underneath the video description. It will reveal to you links in which you can get to our church's website and learn more about us. Again, thank you for being with us today on Minutes That Matter. I hope this was an encouragement to your heart.